go ahead and call the meeting in order in compliance with the Federal Information Act. Notice this meeting was submitted by fax to the Spartanburg Herald Journal, posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of Town Hall and in the town's website. We now have the invocation. Rick, would you have?
Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this day. I want to thank you for this citizens that have gathered here and watch over us and help us to make the best decisions for our town. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have a presentation tonight from Operation Grow Spartanburg.
My name is John Coates, and I'm with Operation Grow Spartanburg. And essentially what we do is we host events within the county of Spartanburg. And one of the events we do is a food truck takeover. We do it with Cowpens. And we have interest to come to Packlet and work with you guys to put one together here. It's very low. It doesn't take a lot of work outside of getting the food trucks in and organizing them. Financially, it doesn't cost anything for the town. It is funded by the fees that the food trucks pay. And we see tons of people come from all over the county to come to these events. And if you guys are interested, it is something that we would be willing to work with you guys on. It brings a ton of attention from other areas into, like for example, Cowpens. They've seen an increase in attendance to all their other events. And it brings a lot of, a lot of people following the pages, social media pages, looking at the website and things like that. We bring in live music. We have kids, kind of kids bounce houses and things. And it's just a positive event overall. It's very well received in Cowpens, and then we also run the one in Chesney in September.
Is this something that you do entirely on your own, or do you need like volunteers from the town, or?
So the way we do it with the Cowpens is it is a Cowpens event, and we essentially set it up. All the money it would go to Packlet, all the registration fees, whatever licensing you need from the food trucks, and then we have it set up. We bring all of them in, we set them up, and get them all out, leave the space as clean as it was when we got there.
So you do all the marketing. You've got
all the marketing's taken care of.
And do you find the band
yeah, we find the band, we find the food trucks.
Okay.
And then at the end of the event, all the contacts from the food trucks and the band would go to Packlet.
Okay.
So you guys would have a list for future events.
Have you looked at areas around Packlet to have this? Or?
Well, kind of. I need daylight because I work 9 to 5,
Yeah.
And the sun sets at 5 now. So my plan is in the next few weeks, kind of go around and look at different areas. I know you guys have multiple large events that go on behind us at what is known as the Flats.
Yeah.
But I was looking at, I didn't want to take away the light from big events that were already happening in that area. And so I was trying to explore other areas to see if it was potential. And one way, if we find an area, we're going to go in and measure it, see how many food trucks, give or take, would be able to fit in that area safely without blocking any important, I don't know if I'm yelling, but block any important roadways or anything like that. And then that's how we determine how much the food trucks would pay to get in, and it would cover all costs associated with the event.
So this is totally net zero for the town as far as cost?
So we've done 2 in Cowpens. One was, they made money on both of them. They were able to profit off both of them, but one of them wasn't. The first one wasn't significantly as much as the second one was because we planned ahead for it. It was our first one we've done.
Any particular time of the year or anything? What?
August would be the best time, sometime in August, late July. Hotter months, drier months, so you don't have to worry about it raining out. But also we have multiple other events that we host around the county of Spartanburg, and that's an open area that we have to play with.
You're already familiar with the areas that the town would allow you to do this, right?
Yes and no. I was looking at open areas that already have events going on. And then, you know, it would be something, you know, at this point, it's totally conceptual. And it would be something that we could kind of work together to find the best place for it. And, you know, obviously, be like, hey, can we have it here? Get the town's approval, and then go from there. So it's the first one is always the trickiest, finding where to do it at and kind of how, you know, the logistics of it all. But, you know, that's something that can kind of, you know.
So you spoke with the administrator and kind of hashed some of this stuff already, or no?
No, this is the first step.
Okay, so you just come into council first off and,
Yes, sir.
okay.
I invited John to make a presentation.
I'm sorry?
What's that?
I didn't hear you.
I invited John.
Oh,
So can you keep us in mind for, you're suggesting August? We have a little time.
Yes, absolutely. That's,
And-
you know, that's one reason I wanted to come so early, is to kind of put it out there and, you know, give time to kind of plan it and figure out the whole event. And then if it's something that you guys would be interested in doing.
Right. Yeah, just, I guess there's a little legwork left to do. And then, I guess it's up to us, I don't know, to approve it or not.
Yeah,
Seems like it wouldn't, but-
and all the marketing would be taken care of. You know, all the flyers and all the kind of digital media, I would handle all of that. So it's been done in-house. We would draft a flyer, get it approved, and once it's approved, you know, kind of get it out there. And everything would be tagged with the town of Packlet. So obviously anyone seeing it would be kind of pushed into the town of Packlet social media pages, which would help further other events that you guys have going on, and it'd bring a lot of attention that way.
Right?
Sounds good.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested, just get in touch with me, and
Any questions?
I appreciate you showing interest in the town of Packlet. I do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate that a lot.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have citizen comments. We have Ms. Edith Burdette.
Dear Mayor, council members of Packlet,
Okay, ma'am, could you pull that microphone down a little bit so we, there you go.
like that.
That's good.
My name is Edith Burdette. I have lived in Packlet, 260 Crescent Street, for the past 17 and a half years. I am here to represent the diverse population of this block located between Pond Street and Crescent Street. This petition that I have on me now has been signed by my 100% of the residents on my block.
Excuse me, hold on a second. The petition? Do you have a petition?
I'm reading it.
Okay, do we have a copy of that, or,
No, I haven't received this.
okay, do you have,
I don't have extra of that. I don't have extra of that at the moment.
that's okay, that's okay.
I can
just
give you
if-
this
If you don't
later.
mind, would you provide us
I
with,
can bring you one.
that's fine, okay.
This petition has been signed, yes. We are all asking you to pause this new development on Crescent Street and Pine Street, in between Crescent Street and Pine Street. Why are we asking you for this? Well, let me tell you. Several weeks ago, we found out that the property at 250 Crescent Street has been sold to a developer. He informed us that he plans to build a road across the property reaching from Pine Street to Crescent with triplexes on either side. This surprised us since the project is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan of Packlet. The town of Packlet has invested time and money in creating this plan. I would like to show you where this development is inconsistent with the future plans and vision of Packlet. Here's a quote in the section of a plan titled Healthy Families. It says, and I quote, "Review and revise the range of uses and district regulations in single-family residential districts to ensure that they preserve and enhance the character of the existing neighborhood. These triplexes change our neighborhood. They do not preserve or enhance the character of our neighborhood." Another example is under the same heading is this plan. It says to, and I quote again, review and revise zoning ordinance and land development regulations to ensure that infill developments are compatible with the existing neighborhood character. The current planning board will update the zoning to fit this vision. According to the future zoning map that I have right here, and I brought a copy for you, it comes from the page 55 of this comprehensive plan. The property at 250 Crescent Street will ultimately be zoned as R20 single-family neighborhood. And as you can see, we must not get ahead of ourselves, thwarting the vision set in this comprehensive plan by the town of Pacolet. This is why we are requesting to pause this project until early '25 or until the Planning Commission has completed their work. We need to keep Pacolet on track with the master plan. My neighborhood has signed this petition. 100% of my block embraces this. This new zoning would take effect in as little as 4 months. Many residents have come here tonight to show their support and to represent these homes on our block that would be most affected. We ask you to pause this for 3 reasons. First, to be consistent with your future plan, with the future plans of Pacolet. Second, to validate the time and money invested to create a comprehensive plan. And in third, in honoring residents that have signed this petition and whose homes would be most affected by this, and we hope to protect by this plan. Please just pause the project until it can be built according to zoning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'd like to pass out the future zoning map that I found in this book.
We have those.
You got one?
Yes, we have those.
And I'll get you a copy.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. Need approval of minutes of November 7th, 2024.
Motion to approve minutes November 7th, 2024.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes of November 7th, 2024. Any questions, any comments? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Department reports. Do we have any of those? Other than,
I'll go ahead with the town administrator. Town hall improvements have, the only thing that's left to finish is the temporary ramp that you can see is still in pieces over there. That's something that Lyle still has to come out and take care of. We're still working on the live video recording. As of right now, it's set up so that, so just so that y'all know that we're currently live on YouTube. What's being shared on the screen and the audio is live streaming on YouTube as of this moment and will be recorded and kept there. We're still working on the video section of things, so that'll come at a future date. Christmas tree lighting was a big success. We had both a great group of volunteers, very dedicated public works employees, and the assistant town clerk who were instrumental in making this year much better than the previous year. The Christmas parade is December 12th at 6 p.m. I'm sorry, I apologize. The Christmas parade will be Saturday, December 14th at 10 a.m. I apologize for that. We'll have a wrap-up meeting for all events for the whole year on December 12th at 6 p.m. It'll be here at Town Hall, so anybody who's interested in being a part of the events next year or were a part of the events this year, come up and we'll be going over all the events and setting dates for next year. I'll skip down on here to, let's see.
I'd like you to review number 5, if you don't mind.
Yes, the permanent no-through truck signs were recently installed by SCDOT on Montgomery Avenue and Stone Street.
So earlier this week, there was a truck stuck at the intersection up here at Montgomery and Stone again.
Okay.
So those signs were in place before that? or after that? And was there violations written by the police department? Were they available at that time?
I will have to check and see the date in which they were installed on there.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I mean, you know, if we closed this and it was, you know, something we agreed upon several months ago, and yet I've still seen truck traffic back and forth, but little to no response. So I just want to make sure that since there was an actual incident, or so-called, that the police department was available and they did their due diligence to rectify it afterwards.
When the officers are on scene, they do pull them over out here. But if they're somewhere else and they're not able to see it, then, you know, they can't do anything about it at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but tow trucks called, things like that, you know, so I would assume that they'd be aware.
We had a situation where we were putting some lights on the town hall, and they came by and tried to come through, and I explained to them they could not. And, you know, of course, the same answer, well, my GPS told me to go this way. Well,
Right, so did we make every effort to contact GPS companies to notify them of the change? And, you know, we talked about that you're able to notify GPS companies so to reroute and indicate a route differently than what was previous. We did all that.
we've let them know, we've let DOT know about this. We've even gone as far as reaching out to the trucking companies in the area to let them know. As you'll
Right.
notice, I won't say their name, but a particular company that's on 9 on the way into Jonesville does not come through the town of Packlet.
Right.
Up that way. So that was effective. The problem is a lot of the truckers that are coming through, they come through one time, and then it's a completely different person the next time.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, I would imagine. I just want to make sure that we've done everything possible to inform GPS companies that this is no longer a path they should take before we start fines and procedures past that, so.
The signs are clear. We had them put it at a higher height than, I guess, other signs that are out there, just to make sure they understand they're on both sides of the road and they're right up against the traffic circle here, and as close as we can put up on Stone and 150. The other thing in addition to that, while they were out here, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but the sign that says 150 through traffic has been moved from the first side of Stone to the other side of Stone, so they
Right.
can't be confused about where straight is. We fielded a lot of interest lately for developers and investors on housing and other types of investment in the town. Builders that recently have been working in town have shown more interest in continued housing construction. Another thing on here I wanted to make sure to mention is last month, council approved the sale of the 141 Coleman Circle for $40,000. I'd like to suggest that council put these funds into a restricted fund to be used to purchase property at a future date. As long as I have the consensus that y'all are okay with that, that's my intention of where I was gonna put that money.
Let's go back to number 7. So off of the comments from the citizen earlier, everything was in place as far as zoning. Like, is there some issues as far as the triplex being built on those properties, or?
This particular situation, and I can pull it up on the map if you'd like to see it.
I think everybody would probably like to see it since we're talking about it. Is it possible to show the zoning map instead of just the GIS? I think that's probably more relevant.
Do you have the location of where the zoning is on here?
I don't, not on the GIS.
Okay. Let me show this, and then I can pull up I'll see if I can pull up a zoning map on here. The property in question is this one right here. is my understanding. The developer who has bought the hardware store also bought this property. It's currently in what's called Urban Center. You have a question?
No, just, you weren't sure earlier, but you knew exactly which property it was, so I thought it was.
I don't know.
Anyway, so
I didn't know about this.
Let's keep going. Go ahead.
I'd heard there was concern about this property, but I've never seen the.
We're good. Let's keep moving forward.
Okay.
How is this property zoned currently?
This property right now is currently zoned Urban Center. Urban Center currently doesn't allow for single-family residential properties on there. The developer would like to do single-family residential on the property, but since it's zoned UC, the only thing that was allowed on there is triplex, and triplex is just beyond duplex. So based on the conversations that I've had with the developer on here, it's just 3 townhomes just that are going to be attached.
So on that piece of property, it won't be triplexes, it's 3 duplexes. Is that,
Will
that's
it-
what, you're fully aware of the property and what the circumstances are behind it. So it'll be 3 duplexes is what you just said to me, correct?
No,
3 homes that are attached. So a duplex
So it'll be,
with one more.
it'll be a single triplex home.
A single triplex, correct.
So 3 homes connected jointly. in
Correct.
other words. Only one single home on the property.
It'll be one single building on the property that'll be 3 separate single-family homes.
And that's because it's zoned,
UC, Urban Center.
when did the rezoning happen? Was there a rezoning of that?
We looked it up. In 1996, the future land use map was created, and then in 2000, the map and the zoning ordinance were put in place. So the 24 years ago.
And that was done properly when it was rezoned?
Sir?
It was rezoned to UC in 2004?
Yes, it was, the whole block, the whole thing there is listed on there as UC.
Okay.
It's not just the fronts of the property.
So we fully intend on zoning that differently when our new master plan and new zoning changes come through, correct? Or is that going to remain sort of a UC property? Would it be considered something differently?
At the end of the day, it's what y'all approve.
So I agree. I'm just asking in the future, so we've pretty much almost agreed that we're going to rezone or rename some of the zoning in the town. So that area right there, what would that be considered next year?
I don't know what that will be considered, but based on future land use, it would be most likely make, and we're gonna have all new zoning too. So even
Yes,
if,
that's what I'm speaking about, is basically like, so if we're gonna have our rezoning and our new zoning rules and laws, are they going to change the situation on this piece of property or not?
I cannot answer that because, as I said, it's still in draft format. It's still what y'all want to have in that thing.
Right.
In that document. Keep in mind that the property beside it is neighborhood general
Right.
and still allows for triplexes to be there.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. So what I'm asking is, so the approval for these properties has already been given for the construction of these properties to be done, correct?
There's no approval needed to give.
You don't need to do an approval at all, right?
Yeah,
The builder buys the property, clears the property, starts building his property. He has to get a permit, of course, and then the permit has to come through the town. And then we see that this is the intention based on the permit, that this is what's going to happen.
As long as it matches the use, we have to allow it to be
So
there.
the zoning administrator has no requirement whatsoever to evaluate what type of facility will be built on the property.
The only thing, and I've talked to the developer on this particular property, the only thing that's gonna have an issue on here is because the front property is UC and your zoning ordinance was put in place as if you had a traditional downtown with 0 lot lines or 5 foot off maximum to build on, unless you're gonna, and the developer's not planning on doing that. So they're gonna have to end up getting a variance if they continue to move forward as it is.
Right.
What I have been advising and talking to him about was having the property rezoned to neighborhood general. If it goes to neighborhood general, then he is allowed to end up putting single-family homes out there, which is what he would prefer to do.
Yeah,
Which I think would go along with what our comprehensive plan document says.
I think
To preserve the existing neighborhood.
I think the value would probably be increased substantially for the home builder as well. Is that something that we're looking at? I mean, there's a petition, there's a lot of other things. I think, is this something that our zoning appeals board has looked at, our planning commission has looked at already?
The reason I know about this is I've heard rumors, and I've also gotten a call from Senator Martin's office. And Senator Martin was asking about when the zoning was done for this particular property, and I explained to him the same thing that I just explained to you.
Right, I mean, you're fully aware. What I'm looking for is a resolve for the young lady that had enough courage to come up here and talk tonight,
Absolutely.
so that there is some kind of comfort in the forward motion from the town. I think everybody's in agreement that single-family homes in that piece of property would probably be the best for everybody. Is that what we're pushing towards? Is everybody comfortable with that? Is that something the planning commission is gonna be working towards in the very near future? We just had a meeting Monday, and I don't know if that was a topic then, it maybe should have been, but, I just wanna make sure that that's
Sure.
something that we're talking about now. Is that correct or no?
Yes, it was actually brought up, I believe we talked about it in that meeting because it had come up. But one thing, and I'm maybe getting too off topic here, one thing that I talked to with the developer is the possibility, could we end up building a road, and if you can follow me on the cursor, a road down through here and then having 3 single-family homes facing that
Yeah,
particular
I mean,
road.
it would maybe be necessary to, otherwise it would be right-of-ways for the secondary, the 2 secondary homes to have a driveway leading to the others, you know, I understand that.
The only problem with those sort of things is I'm not sure it's allowed by ordinance, and that's the only thing we've got to look at. And so it may be a situation that either the planning commission or the Board of Zoning Appeals evaluates what he'd like to do and then approve it as a project like that.
Yeah, understood. I think we're on the right path. This is a conversation that's gonna continue, I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate everybody that's involved, and let's stick with it and make sure that we get a good outcome from this. And
I've talked to the property owner on here, the developer on here. He would love to sit down and talk with people in the area and to see, the last thing he wants to do is upset with anybody. He does not want to upset anybody because he wants to stay working in the community. But if we could sit down and kind of talk about what, everyone would like to see in the community, in the area there, I think he's very interested in that.
I think it's important, I think it's important to engage with the developer more often. I think there's probably some conversation that would probably need to happen and maybe hasn't happened. I'm not 100% sure of that.
Well, they're here tonight.
They are, but it's not my intention to call a developer in the middle of a council meeting. What I'm saying is I think much more conversation should happen. So I'm not sure of their intention. I'm not sure of anybody's intention. What I do know is that I think conversation should happen, and I think we should pursue that. I understand that our zoning is outdated. We all understand our zoning is outdated, and as your zoning administrator, I think you can make some concessions based on what the council agrees on. And before things move forward, knowing that we're going to change all of our zoning, period, I think we should be aware of all these issues before they arise to a public meeting or a citizen standing in front of us, so that we can all have a conversation, maybe amongst ourselves, before it comes to this. And then if it still comes to this, that's fine. I totally understand. However, I believe that there's much more conversation that should happen between town administrator, zoning administrator, construction, local residents, things of that sort. I'm not familiar with what all has been said or done, who's willing to talk, who's not willing to talk. I'm not really sure. What I'm saying is I would like so much more that we communicate better, and so we can prevent some of these some of these conversations from going south. So, I appreciate everybody that was willing to stand up and everybody that was willing to talk, and the builder as well. I do appreciate the builder for taking interest in Packlet. Not sure who the builder is, not pointing fingers or naming names, but I also appreciate all the people that has been involved in this moving until this point. But let's go a little bit further and have more conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jason. We'll move on now.
Back on item number 9, I think it's a great idea, so I'd love you to move forward with that.
And you had also, Mr. Wright, you had also asked about the signage on that particular property. Due to the fact there was not signage on that property, the rezoning is nullified and doesn't go forward. Now, since the property is not changing use, it won't be a problem for the current property owner to continue using as a storage, which is what the town had been
Right.
using in storage. And if at some point the property owner does want to have it rezoned, we can look at that. And we can also look at it when we do the rezoning of the entire zoning map.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
I included a copy of the budget on here. If there's any comments or questions on the budget in its current, where we are with things in terms of expenses and revenues. We're still in the process of moving some.
Through October, right?
Sir, that's just through October. You'll see on there, like, for instance, building maintenance and building repairs, we're gonna be, that'll be combined into one category, and that's where it was in terms of the budget. So that'll be updated on there. And then one of the last things you'll see on there is, initially when I had talked to Mr. Blake, we had taken code enforcement and we were putting it under police department. And then recently, one of the last things that we had talked about was moving it out under its own building code planning line on there. The 18,264.89 is before we have split it up, and so the 18,264.89 is what the town has been paying to RCI for both building permits and code enforcement, but that'll be split up next time. Some of the shortfall that's currently in there is, I believe, due to some of our grants that haven't been paid to the town yet. And then also the majority of our revenue comes in December, January, February for tax revenue.
So the net change being red means that we're negative 504.
It doesn't show everything that's on there. I think there's a couple of things that our town clerk hasn't put in on some of the revenues on here that will need to be updated on here. All the revenues are in there? Yes. Okay. It may just be some of the transfer over. And then some, also we've got a little over $100,000 that we received for the master plan, which is also supposed to be coming in through there. But this typically happens in your lean months.
I'm sorry?
This typically kind of gets that way in terms of the lean months.
We don't get much revenue in October is what he's trying to say, right, Tony? Yeah. Okay.
What's that? This is the RCI report. Police chief report.
How many officers do we currently have right now?
As of right now, I believe we've got 4, and then 1 that will be going through the academy very soon.
What is our fully staffed? How many officers would that include if we were fully staffed?
6 plus a chief.
6 plus a chief. So right now, we're still 1 below, well, we're like 4.5 technically, because we have 1 going to training. So we're still 1 short.
Yeah,
full
the
staff.
fourth one right now still has a couple more ride-alongs and a couple more trainings here. They've already finished the academy and graduated, but hasn't been able to go off on their own
The
yet.
fourth.
The
still have-
fourth.
okay.
So you really have 3 fully done, one that's about 95, 98% there.
Right.
And then one that has not gone to training yet, but will be. And then you still have a vacancy.
Okay. That's still a lot of events for 3 officers. I think the police department's doing a great job. I think we should commend them for that.
There have been, and this is something that may not want to go into it tonight, but the chief has been covering a lot of shifts up there. The chief is currently salary, so he doesn't benefit from doing that. He actually ends up making less per hour that way. I'd like for the council to consider, and we'll bring it up at a different meeting, a situation in which the chief gets compensated for covering other shifts that are out there. Just something to kind of put out. New business.
What?
You ready for new business?
Yes, sir.
The first item under new business on there is, or I'm sorry, the unfinished business is a discussion regarding sanitation service and current fees. Put forth some information that's on there for y'all to review. If you'd like, I can read through it or go through it a little bit more. We're currently at $45 annual fee. If someone wants to buy a additional can or additional cart, it's a one-time fee of $70, and they don't incur the additional $45 a year. So the question is, should residents pay $45 for each trash cart that they have, or just one per residence as they currently do? We have had residents who want an additional trash cart, but that was primarily when we enforced the closed lid rule. So that would be an option if, say, for instance, if someone wanted to add an additional cart, you could set it up so instead of the $70 that they would pay, you just move it on to a $45 annual fee. Any thoughts on that?
How did this come about that we would want to charge an additional $45 for an extra cart?
I'm bringing that up as an option on there for y'all to consider, because this is where you currently are, is if a person has one cart, it's $45. If a person has 10 carts, it's still $45.
I don't have a problem with it just still being $45. I don't understand why we would want to.
I would assume it's a revenue thing for the Public Works Department.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of too, but
Funding. I'm not in favor of charging citizens in the town more money for services that they've already retained for years. I'm just not a fan of that. I mean, if, on here, we're talking about businesses, I've said for years that business should probably pay
yes.
for their services. It should not be a part of property taxes, that kind of deal. Every other town that I've ever been in and talked with citizens and businesses pay differently, or they pay for a separate service altogether. I think the town of Packlet that's providing trash service of businesses should charge separately, a separate rate for businesses. I completely agree with that. I don't know the rate. I'm not 100% on what that should be. I think your advice is probably fine. I'm not going to disagree with that. There's some areas on here that you're talking about providing sanitation services for people outside of the town for some added revenue too. I completely agree with that. My thing is that people that have previously signed up for carts and asked for them and paid a service fee for a separate cart, that was with the intention of having that for, a period of time. I don't know. I think if you pay property taxes and you thought that you would need more than one, I don't think we should raise that fee, you know, now or any time, for regular citizens of Packlet, just because we're looking for revenue. And I feel like that's what it is. I could be wrong, and I'm not saying that that's what it is, but I feel like if we're gonna make some baby steps, then we should go for businesses. And we should probably look for revenue outside the city limits within, I think you said a quarter mile. That's fine, we'll start there, and if things are still rough, and maybe we can look again in a few years at a secondary trash can fee as well, too, that's fine. But for now, we should probably focus on just the businesses and maybe some revenue from quarter mile outside the city limits.
I agree with Jason on what he said, as well. But as far as the restaurants paying $150 a year because their carts are gonna be heavier due to the type of refuse they suppose, sometimes my trash can is heavier. I'm not understanding what weight is gonna cost more or less, why that's determining the cost of what restaurants would pay.
So typically with restaurants, is you're gonna have a lot of food, liquid products, a lot of things on a regular basis. Now, you may have those, but it's not typically on a regular basis unless you're running a restaurant out of your house. With a place like an office, they may have some paper products, they may have a couple things here and there, but it's not gonna be the same kind of weight. Plus, there's also gonna be a different type of,
Instead of a liquid product, I think it's important to identify that it's a wet product. So the liquid may be put into the receptacle, but all of the dry products will become weighted by the liquid. I think that's important to understand, is that it's more about the weight of the weight of the refuse that goes in the truck, because that's how our trucks really work, is off of weight. And the truck itself, I mean, it's only weighted for a certain amount. We're having difficulties with that as it is. But I think a dry product such as paper, you know, we can have 100 cups in there and 1 cup of coffee or 1 cup of soda or I mean, even if it's milk, whatever, it doesn't matter. A liquid product would soak 100 cups pretty quick, and then the weight afterwards would substantially be more than 10 pounds just off of that 1 gallon of liquid. Or I don't know the actual math, but I think instead of saying a liquid product, I think the wet weight of the refuse is probably what we're looking at more than anything else.
yes, an example would be is after the storm came through, a lot of your residents had to get rid of products out of their freezers and the refrigerators that went bad. And that week,
That's a bad analogy, because that's hopefully a one-time thing.
but I'm just giving you example of that. In
Yeah,
terms of
yeah.
that weight, I'm
Totally
talking about
understand, yeah.
the weight is what I'm concerned about, because those guys end up having to work, you know, because that weight for them to drag it to the truck, and then also to make sure that it's not too heavy for the hydraulics to be able to pick it up.
I had a business come to me this past week that gets private trash pickup because they don't have this option, and they expressed interest. They said they would switch to the town if the town provided this option. I told them that I was in favor of it and I would advocate for that. So as far as the numbers, I'm not sure whether they're high or low, but I think we need to give an option. I mean, the numbers look fine to me, if you think it'll work. But I think there should be an option. If we want to be pro-business, even something as small as this, everything helps.
This will be drastic, in my opinion, based on what I've seen for, I'll say, I mean, Spartan Waste, I mean, or other companies. Those are not, there are a lot of companies that you can go out there. I know their prices because I use them, and that's what I currently have in terms of a residential contract with them. It may end up being higher for commercial, but that 65 a quarter is pretty standard in terms of, at least that's what it is for residential on there.
Yeah, the 65 a quarter, I understand that as far as residential, you know, that makes sense. I think what we're all agreeing on is that some of this is probably worth revisiting and probably establishing at some point. this, maybe a good number, you know, making sure that the numbers are correct and that's what we all agree on. You know, this, bringing this now is kind of like it's new to all of us and we haven't really had time to think about it. You know, what, I think everybody's looked at it for about a week and that's,
Yeah, this is a discussion, we wouldn't bring it up to the change right now anyway, we would.
yeah.
Just a discussion.
No, it will still have to go before like a
That's right.
resolution or ordinance, something like that. This is just to see, see if y'all, what direction y'all like or don't like for certain things. And if you like the direction of a commercial pickup and a rate for that, we can look at that and I can do an evaluation of what other companies are charging. Most of them are probably gonna be dumpsters, but also some of them have the 95-gallon containers.
Yeah, I think the direction is fine. I don't know if anybody else has any
Are y'all-
issues with direction, but
And you're also okay with the quarter mile out of the town?
I think that varies in different areas. You know, I mean, there's some areas just outside of town that might be 3/4 of a mile that are super condensed. You know, I don't know how you draw a perfect line at, 1,100 feet, you know, I mean, it's.
So what I'm looking at is,
It just, you know,
I think I explained on here, but it was gonna be a quarter, and maybe I didn't, but it was a quarter-mile linear trip. So it wouldn't be a quarter mile around the whole town. It would be, so for instance, Jerusalem Road is one of the last houses that are on there. You know, if you went linear feet wise, how much would you get to a quarter mile?
I think it's appropriate to maybe set an area and then pinpoint, just look at the map and then pinpoint the roadways where it makes sense. And then anything past that particular roadway that might make a circumference around the town, both sides of that particular roadway, but then anything past that so that the truck's route wouldn't have to like make a bunch of U-turns and such. I think that's appropriate, but just making it a quarter mile, you know, like for instance, Jerusalem. Are you gonna go out Jerusalem and then pass by 6 houses because you have to make a U-turn to turn around and come back and get the other side of the road? I think it makes sense to look and see who would be willing or able and not really set up a distance, because in some areas of the town, it might make sense to go 3/4 of a mile. In some places, it might make only sense to never go any distance whatsoever, because there's just no houses there. You know, you see what I'm saying?
I understand.
I think looking at the route and looking at the consolidated, you know, housing in that area, it makes sense. And given the option, but.
The concern I end up having then is if you end up going 4 miles on one side and then 2 miles on another side, why are you only going 4 miles here versus 2 miles over here?
Well, my concern is that we're going to expand the waste pickup. We're gonna expand it. I mean, if we're going to approve going outside the town, we're gonna look at more time on the trash truck period anyway. So is that gonna reflect in more complaints because trash isn't being picked up correctly? Is that gonna reflect, how is that really gonna reflect? So is it smart to go outside the town limits and try to seek more revenue? Or should we just fix the system that we already currently have? To me, it makes sense if we're going to do something like that, then do it with the intention of a designed route that will make it efficient right from the beginning. And only these people on that route are eligible for that pickup, no matter what. You see my point?
I understand. I think you're gonna run into a situation where, why did you go by my house versus somebody else's house?
I agree. So it may not be feasible, I'm not really sure, but
Can you draft up an ordinance with these numbers, unless anyone has any issue with these numbers, other than maybe the route or distance, but as far as the costs and whatnot, just that we can actually vote on?
ultimately it would be the town that has to agree, yes, we would like to pick your trash up for
Yeah.
whatever fee. It would be an application process.
Yes.
And that's fine. So I think it would be up to the town to decide whether it was feasible or valuable enough to agree to do such a thing.
I don't have anything else on that.
Yeah.
And then too, I guess to approach the restaurants and businesses too, as far as cost.
It might be worth, approaching that as well, yeah.
As long as those numbers are competitive as far as the commercial side, then I'm all for it. long as, you know, we're driving by these businesses anyways.
The thought process on here was that if a resident who's just outside of the town or a business who's located in the town ends up using ABC Corporation, their cost is going to be much higher than the company who's right here already, which is the town of Packlet. And so going an extra few hundred feet to pick something up, our costs are going to be a little bit less, and so we can actually do something at a much better value to, or a much better cost to that business or that resident.
Can I say something?
Yes. go ahead.
Absolutely.
I'm good. Why are we doing this if this is used for annexation? You could annex these folks in to get this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's an incentive to join the town's, so the idea that we're going to offer something that we would rather you just annex in to gain the revenue through the taxable income. I think that's what she's talking about. Am I correct? So I mean, this is an incentive for people to gain law enforcement, tax, brush, you know, all the things that the town, you know, offers. And I think it's a good deal. I mean, I hear a lot of people about their taxes, and I think there's a misconception on what the actual taxes really are. But I think it's worth, exploring. But at the same time, it should still be an incentive for a lot of the people that live on the outskirts of the town.
I couldn't agree more with you. And the issue is not the people who are adjacent to the town. It's the people who are more than several properties and would not be able to annex.
Right.
Okay.
So we could make the ordinance to where we skip over a few properties to grab, okay. Yeah, it was too much.
I will say that, and this is just, in the city of Anderson, they provide water service for people that are outside of the city limits at a much higher rate than they do to city residents.
Right.
And I'm not sure how they do this legally, but you sign an agreement that says the only way that we'll provide water to you at this higher rate is if you agree to annex in if the time comes that your property is adjacent to the town.
It's like blackmail.
That's what it sounded like, didn't it?
It does to me.
Zoning map.
It's being held up in court.
Okay, let's go to B there. Consider second, well, you go ahead and you're gonna get us up, something we can vote on.
I'll put something that y'all can vote on, but also put together a rate schedule of what other people are charging out there.
Okay. Let's go to B then, the second reading of the amendment to ordinance 2014-03.
Motion to approve on second reading amendment to ordinance.
There was one comment that was made by our building inspector. He recommended a change on here. It's just a minor change. I don't think it would have to go back for another reading on here. But instead of gas under membership, that it be changed to mechanical. And so that would enable someone who's HVAC or someone who works in gas to be able to be on that group. And one other thing that was not put in your packet on here, but what was amended at the last council meeting, under section D, procedure, instead of contacted by the town administrator, Mr. Wright had made an amendment on there, and it should just say by the town, just in case the town administrator goes away.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion to consider the second reading. Any questions, any comments? Need a second.
I'll second.
Motion made and second, consider the second reading. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, C, discussion regarding building inspection and code enforcement.
You have the information in front of you. I can go through all this as well. You've got a contract right now with RCI, which ends at the end of this month. it's my recommendation that you send this out to RFP, send a request for proposals on this, and at the next council meeting that y'all hear presentations and review their proposals on there and decide on which group that you want to move forward with, whomever ends up coming before you and providing something. And I've talked to RCI, and they're willing to extend their contract
I
to,
agree with that.
I mean, I think we've made it very clear the
Yeah.
past couple council meetings that we intended on letting the contract expire and just leave it at that. Your recommendation is another 2 months, and I'm not comfortable with the recommendation because at our last council meeting, you actually asked me, you were surprised that I hadn't already had issues with some of the actions of RCI, and we can cover that, that's fine. But what I want to say is I think it's okay to let the contract expire and leave it at that. It's face value, it's done. I also said at the last council meeting that I think it was important that if we did desire to engage in another, subcontract company for inspections, that we do that at a budget year. So instead of in the middle of the year that makes a contract go through another middle of the year, why don't we just spend the next 6 months, or actually the next 2 or 3 months, evaluating what we're doing, planning for July of next year? I think we pretty much agreed with that at the last meeting and the meeting before that. So I don't understand why we're here again talking about this. Contract should expire, we'll leave it at that. Spartanburg County, I hope you've talked to, understands that we hope they're going to pick up on that moving forward past December, starting January. And then maybe we can decide on somebody moving forward for July or something of that sort. Whether it's another subcontract company or we get our own employees, I'm very much for our own employees. Code enforcement, I'm thinking we could probably find one individual to do both of them, and still on a part-time basis. But I don't think it's worth it's not worth your recommendation to extend contracts. I don't understand where that came from. After the incident at the courtroom, I don't know why we're even offering a 2-month extension. That's not necessary.
We're back here discussing it because there was no consensus about letting it expire. That was your consensus. I don't know of anyone else that instructed Patrick to go in that direction. I'm in favor of an extension because we've kind of let this creep up on us. We do need to see some proposals. There are some changes that need to be made, but
We very much did not let this creep up on us.
Excuse me.
This has been in effect for several months now.
Excuse me.
We all knew for months that this was gonna come to an end in
He had the
December.
floor over here, Jason. Let him preach, let him preach.
As I was
All right,
saying,
go ahead.
to transition in this manner without RFPs and proposals, I think is rash and might be messy. A simple 60 or 90-day extension, I think, will give us plenty of time to hear other proposals and make a plan versus just open permits being dropped in the lap of the county. I'm not convinced we need to go with the county. I know that's what others want, but there was no consensus of just letting it expire and seeing what happens. I think we need to, actually, I would make a motion that we extend the contract 90 days with RCI.
Why do we need a consensus if the contract expires? It expires. Why do we need a consensus?
Well, it doesn't have to
The
expire.
contract is over with, it's done, it is expired. We don't need to agree that it expires. It expires. And we have been talking about this. This is not creeped up on us. We've been talking about this, I know, since about August.
We haven't
Well,
got any
October council meeting, November council meeting, nobody made a motion whatsoever. Nobody advised the administrator to seek any kind of other companies, RFI. Nobody advised the administrator to do anything. Nobody said a word. Nobody asked that we get numbers or price quotes or anything of that sort. That to me is a consensus. If we've not directed our administrator to do something for the entire council, then that's a consensus. And nothing happened whatsoever. And nobody said a word when at the last council meeting I said, let's wait until July to actually start something new if we're going to do that. Nobody said a word at the last council meeting when I said I think Spartanburg County should be notified that we intend on them handling things for possibly 6 months moving forward. That's a consensus to me.
Well, that's not a consensus to me. We don't intend, you intend on having.
Actually, in the
county-
minutes, it says Mayor Canby asked council to look over the options Mr. Kay had put together and look at it again next month.
Right, I also showed interest in proposals.
What I need to know is a couple things. One is that there is about 40 hours of work that needs to be done that will not be done if the contract lapses. In addition to that, the work has become too much for PD and for our staff here. So the option would be that we need to hire somebody, either part-time or something, to be able to cover this.
I don't understand, Mr. K, why we waited until December to talk about how encompassing it is and that there's so much that still needs to be done when you've had several months to lead up to this. When we talked about their contract ends in December, back in September. So now here we are, December, that there's so much work that has to be done. It's going to be way more encompassing for the police department. But nothing has been said or done leading up to that point until now, where it's, let's get a 2-month extension. I think we should let the contract expire. This town is not going to go in such peril over the next 6 months with code enforcement. Building inspections, we understand. We're probably going to have to maybe pay Spartanburg County to facilitate some of the building, the building permits. We may have to do that. That's fine. But that's something that we should have been thinking about. You should have been thinking about in the process. If the council has not said, we intend on renewing a contract, we want you to pursue that, we want you to pursue a different company, that's something you should have perceived and thought about. We have not said that. No, at no point in time did we indicate that to you that we wanted to, go that direction. So that's something that should have been a conversation with Spartanburg County already. And maybe a fee schedule worked out with them that they're going to facilitate whatever building permits are still in existence. As far as code enforcement, I think the town is okay for 6 months, not having a specific officer to do that. As well as we can approach Spartanburg County with their code enforcement officers and offer them up some financial assistance to please come out here periodically and do a little code enforcement for the town as well. That happens in other townships, and if it doesn't, that's fine. We can offer it and see what happens.
I'm unfamiliar with any other townships that do that.
A lot of townships actually pay to have the sheriff's department come and work in their county instead of police departments.
Yes, but code enforcement.
Code enforcement works for the sheriff's department as well. I'm pretty sure that's the same department.
Sure about that?
Mr. K, how many?
You should be sure about that. I'm only a council person. This is probably a question maybe you should answer for me later. But my assumption is, since this individual is a certified law enforcement officer, code enforcement is part of law enforcement. He probably works for the sheriff's department. And if so, then that's part of the sheriff's department's budget. However, doesn't make any difference to me. Every citizen in Packlet pays Spartanburg County taxes, which pays for code enforcement in Spartanburg County. We are also in Spartanburg County, so we should get a little bit of income or a little bit of help for code enforcement inside Packlet city limits.
I don't believe that's the case.
That's not the case because that's not the way it's happened. Maybe we should force the issue a little bit more, or we should just ask for assistance better.
My question is, why did we not direct him to do this? We're the ones that are responsible. We should have directed him to do this, and he does things on his own sometimes, but, we should be directing him to do this stuff.
We who? You're sitting at this table
All
as
of
well,
us.
sir.
All of us.
You're sitting here as well. So, I mean,
That's what I said. I said we.
if your intention was to do something different than what I proposed last meeting,
read what I said.
anybody could have advised him to do
Read
something
what I
different.
said, Patrick, last meeting.
I believe at the last meeting you said that you wanted everyone to take a look at the options Mayor Camby asked council to look over the options Mr. Kay has put together and look at it again next month.
All right,
The mayor asked.
all right. Well, that's
Did
what
any
I-
other council
you had-
person
you-
ask
Wait a
you
minute, you directed me, did I say? I'd said that.
Okay, you did. Okay,
All right,
that's
okay,
great.
Okay, what, yeah, we
What,
should,
none of the rest of the council asked for this.
No,
Yeah, but-
I did actually, just didn't make it into the minutes. I have two questions for you, Mr. Kay. How many municipalities have their own private permitting and code enforcement? And what is the revenue that we get using a private company?
So there's only 4 that, well, I mean, in terms of building permits, I know 4 municipalities in Spartanburg County who use Spartanburg County to use their building permit process, and that is, actually, I believe I had it in y'all's information on here. But I know it's,
All other,
it's Landrum, Campobello, Welford, and Central Packlet. Currently use them for the permit inspection. They're the only ones.
all other municipalities use a private company?
That's correct. And the reason they do that is because it's a quicker response that's on there, and it's also for the revenue that comes in as part of that, instead of Spartanburg County getting that revenue.
Without getting into like really specific numbers, what's the overview of that revenue?
So if you, as of right now, the town brings in about $12,000, $12,235 for plan inspection, or it's plan review and inspection. That's your 20% cost on there. But then you also include in there the difference for, like, for instance, if we had our own code enforcement department versus what like RCI pays for, it ends up being about, so it's about a $12,000 income loss and about a $17,600 increased cost. So it ends up being about $29,800 that you end up having a loss in revenue if you end up going to the county and having someone be doing code enforcement in-house. That's an employee.
I'll change my motion to a 60-day extension. I know there's people that aren't happy about it, but I think it's prudent to have a better plan and have some presentations. And maybe we should have done this sooner. Well, we definitely should have done it sooner, but here we are. So my motion is that we extend the contract for just 60 days until we get kind of our ducks in a row. I'd also like to see RCI present a new plan to reduce the workload on our town hall staff and for our PD. I think RCI needs to come up with a way to handle that entirely themselves, because we just don't have the manpower to do that portion of it.
It would be much better if they ended up doing the process from beginning to end. So once a complaint comes in, that they would end up handling that and then go all the way out to issuing the summons and then appearing in court with that summons on there.
I agree. We need to pull that off our PD's plate, as well as, I think Jennifer takes care of a lot of the clerical stuff. And I'd love to see them have the opportunity to present what that might look like. So I think 60 days is not unreasonable.
The concern that I have with our staff end up doing code enforcement on there is our staff, our PD already gets paid less than some other places that are out there. And those places out there don't do the code enforcement. And so they're having to do the code enforcement on top of that sort of thing. So yes, if you ask them to do it, that's their job, they will do it. But will they go somewhere else? There's a good chance of that. And we're already down officers.
I do not feel comfortable. I feel pressured right now. Because we have been talking about this since September. This is already could have been done and said since September. And here we are December, and I feel like I am being pressured to make a decision that could have already been done. And the way you have presented it here is in a way that is more favorable to them and CCI.
Well, based on the workload that's currently happening for the town.
I'm feeling pressured. I don't like it.
it's our own fault, you know, it's our own fault.
Well, yes, it's our own fault, but
Yeah,
the
because we didn't-
contract has expired.
It
It's
doesn't
done.
expire till the end of this month.
At the end of the month.
Right.
I don't
So
see the reason why Spartanburg County can't
you have a
pick
vote.
it up.
You have a vote. If you don't feel comfortable, use your vote. And that's,
Okay, we have a motion. Can you repeat your motion again?
motion to extend RCI's contract for 60 days.
Need a second. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any more questions, any more comments? All in favor? All opposed?
Let the record reflect, I believe it was a 4-2 vote in favor of moving forward with extending the contract. That's also would be to send out RFPs on this particular process as well.
Yes, sir.
Can I have a roll call on that?
Yes, roll call on there. Mr. Wright? You said nay, yay or nay?
I said nay.
Okay. Mr. Brackens?
Yes.
Ms. Sexton?
Nay.
Mr. Camby?
Yay.
Mr. Williams?
Yay.
Ms. Wofford?
Yay.
And I also, there was something that was brought up at the last meeting that I wanted to clear up that.
Hold on a second. You said it was a 4-2 vote? You said it was a 4-2 vote?
4-2.
Ms. Wofford, did you say yay or nay?
Yay.
You said yay? Okay, I thought you said nay, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
There was also something that was mentioned at the last council meeting about the third-party contractor not being able to write summons, that only an officer could do that. And I spoke with our attorney, and that was found not to be the case. That the town council could appoint an individual to be the code enforcement officer to be able to write those tickets.
Did we do that?
What's that?
The town council appointed somebody to do that?
When y'all do that, but that's the thing is y'all can. We
Have
haven't.
we? Have
RCI. What's that?
Have we?
You have not yet.
Okay.
Do we want to go ahead and do it now?
Sir?
Do you want us to go ahead and, do we need to go ahead and do it now? Or,
No, I would wait until y'all move forward with the next, if you end up going with another person, or if
Okay.
y'all can't find us a group to move forward with.
So we can essentially appoint a non-certified non-law enforcement certified person to issue summonses to court? The town council can appoint somebody to do that? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
We can.
you can appoint anyone in the community. Well, I mean, the thing is say, for instance, if you wanted to appoint, what the attorney said is he didn't want us to have it set up where you appointed a company, that you appointed an individual at that company, but they don't have to be an employee of the town of Packlet.
And they don't have to have a law enforcement certification, correct?
That's
To issue a
correct.
summons to court.
That's correct.
Okay. You have that in writing from the town attorney?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Would you like to have it
Things
there?
like that, I mean, I would rather you forward me things like that as you get them.
I just got
You
it
know,
this afternoon.
That's fine, but I didn't get it this afternoon either, so.
Yeah.
You know, moving forward, when you get things like that that's pertinent to something that I asked you for, forward that to me so I don't ask you questions like this during the council meeting.
Sure, would you like a copy of that?
I think I already established that I want you to forward that to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
going on new business?
The consideration of adopting a contract with Duke Energy to attach seasonal decorations to the utility poles. You currently have decorations that are on Duke Energy's poles, and it's from my understanding it was basically a gentleman's agreement that was done probably 30 or 40 years ago. Moving forward, they would like to have a contract that states that we have permission to do that, and they would work with us on putting outlets on the poles. So as we expand the use, my apologies, let me move this down some.
Do we have a draft of that? I didn't see it. Is there a drafted contract?
Yes, it should have been included in your packet. The KLR pole attachment license agreement for seasonal holiday decorations.
this for one single year, or is this multiple years?
It is for 10 years.
10 years, thank you.
You see it? Right here.
I'll make a motion to proceed with this agreement.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions? Any comments? All in favor? All opposed? Okay.
If you remember, council approved recently, actually moving forward with S&W to do a project at the Packlet Station Park. A steering committee would need to be formed to work with the contractors to move forward on the next steps on there. So if anybody has any recommendations, the only person that has reached out to me so far is Councilperson Sexton, who would like to be on that group. If anybody else would like to be on there, or if you'd like to appoint someone from the community, please let me know.
I would like to be on that committee.
Excellent.
I would also like to be on that, and I would like to appoint Chris Harris.
How many you need?
It's unlimited. It's whoever wants to be on that group. There's not a official steering committee in your ordinance for this.
When do you need the last thing to know? Is there a
Appointment.
deadline?
So what would happen is once the committee is set on here, I'd reach out to the designer on their SW, Seaman Whitehead, I believe, and then y'all would meet with them, possibly on site. They'd review, if you've seen the plan that I sent council, you would look at that, and then if you make any edits or changes to that, any recommendations, all that kind of stuff, you would be the last person to look at it before it comes to council. Now, in addition to working with the rest of the members on that committee, Norfolk Southern should be a part of that process as well. So I've got Ms. Sexton, Ms. Wofford, Mr. Harris, Mr. Williams.
Okay, I didn't know we could appoint someone outside of it, so when do you need to know?
I don't think there's a timeline. It sounds like to me that it's like, you know, as long as the committee exists, then I think, you know, we could probably, you know, apply people to that if we
This
so
is an
please.
informal committee, right?
Yeah.
Sir?
This is
Informal committee.
Yeah, I mean, it's an informal
It's not
committee. I mean,
voting,
they just wanted to meet with, quote, stakeholders. And
Right,
so
you
if you'd
could
like,
add-
I can send it out the next meeting date to y'all. And if you want to forward over to other people, if you'd like, we can also post it on our Facebook page as well.
I
Is any-
think so, because I don't think everybody,
Would it be any problem with, going forward with it if we, you know, wait, a period of time? How soon do we need, to move forward with this? Norfolk Southern,
I would suggest we move forward, we can just add people as they wanna hop in, because we've been on this for a year, and I'm just afraid that we're gonna lose Norfolk Southern's interest, so.
from
we-
what I understand, they won't.
all right, well, we'll go ahead and, you know, go ahead and do it, and, you know, we can add people on, you know, like if you have somebody, we can just add them on. It's informal. Okay.
The next item on here is consider approving a contract with MuniCode. If you're not familiar with MuniCode, I can pull up another town's MuniCode. Let's see. So these are all of the towns in the state of South Carolina that currently use MuniCode, and I included a list of the ones that are in Spartanburg County that currently use it. I'll pull up Inman as an example on here. And so for people in the community to have easier access to your ordinances, everything is all listed here on the side of the page, easily able to get into, look at everything that's currently out there. It's a way to put all of your information out there to the public, and then on top of that, it's easily accessible. You can set it up so that if people are members or want to join the MuniCode group, they can get notified every time a new ordinance is put or new change is put out there. They codify everything, so like for instance, I send ordinance to y'all, but then they take that ordinance and they put it into the language of our municipal code, and they put it into whether it's section 2.21 or 2.23 or that sort of thing that's on there. The other thing that's very valuable, I think, is with our ordinances, when they get uploaded, they would compare them to state and federal laws that are out there and make sure that they don't contradict with those or conflict with them. And they would also look at our existing ordinances to make sure there are not any conflicts in there, which I think we know that there's some that are in there. What I'm looking at, or what I'm proposing on here, is, at least for the beginning, the $1,564 price on here is to put your existing ordinances online, and it ends up being your municipal code that ends up going on there. Then waiting until the zoning ordinance has been completed, which, after talking to Jeff Gilbo on Monday, we're looking at possibly April, May, possibly June, having it completely done and passed. Then that would be codified and put up online as well. If you see on here the process to go through that whole thing, it's about 18 months, and that's 18 months is for them to review your ordinances, make sure they don't conflict with state and federal laws, they don't conflict with each other, and to put them all in a public way on there. The cost now up front rate would be the $1,564, and then the next cost on there would be not until the next fiscal year. So you wouldn't have your zoning ordinance done until probably around May, April, May, June. And so then at that point you could put half this cost, the $9,250, in FY26, and then the rest of it, the cost in FY27, in terms of spreading the cost out. I've talked to some of you in terms of the benefits of MuniCode. You obviously don't have to go in this direction. You can keep what you currently have, which is a copy of your zoning ordinance in PDF format online. This is just a much easier and more user-friendly option to having everything out there.
I like how this gives some transparency, adds transparency for citizens, the option to be notified about, not that they wouldn't know if they were paying attention to meetings, but if they weren't and they missed something, I think it's great. I know I've had copies of our code that conflicted. They were an old copy, and you have to do a little research to figure out whose copy is the correct copy. So I'll make a motion to approve contract with MuniCode.
We have a motion to approve it. Any,
I second.
make a motion second. Okay, any questions, comments?
And just so you're clear, the motion is for the $1,564 to go forward with now. And then we would not incur, and there would be a separate thing, is the $9,250, which would be broken up in, I believe it's 4 payments, but we could spread that over 2 fiscal years.
There's several different prices on here. I think the motion should be very clear what we're actually approving at this point. Right now, it's just kind of open. It's a blanket. We approve MuniCode, but I'm seeing multiple different prices on here. $24.95, $92.50. I don't know what I'm voting on at this point.
Patrick, your understanding was what I was proposing. That was my motion.
Yes, it's just the $1,564. The renewable on there is the $24.95, and basically what that is as you have additional ordinances that come up, that they put that into the system. It also covers the site hosting on there. If you look at their page 12 of that section, there are 2 check marks, one at $1,300 and one at $1,195. Those are the 2 costs to make up that $24.95. That would end up going into your annual budget. And that would just be a cost in your annual budget that's on there. It's up to you. You don't have to move forward with this. I know that one of the things we've talked about for the longest time with our ordinances,
before, when we just sent them, what, to Columbia?
Ma'am?
When they were codified before.
Ally put them together. Ally went and put them together.
So typically what has to happen is administrator or town clerk has to put together the ordinances, send them to Columbia, ask for codification, and then once the state gives us codification code for it, then they become issued in our ordinance, is that right?
They didn't have to go to Columbia.
All of our ordinances have to be codified,
Sir?
do they not?
Well, the last time it was done, Ally
Right.
used another town's.
I think there's a,
Right, so
Use
what I'm
Calpins.
saying,
What
is if we make a new ordinance, it still has to be codified, like regardless. So Municode, whenever we vote on something and we send in that we voted on something, a resolution, whatever, they don't do anything with that. But if it's a new ordinance, then that ordinance goes for verification through the state, which means it's codified to make sure that it's legal.
can you explain,
We
Patrick,
we don't do that?
what codification means?
What do you think codification is?
That means it's verified, that it's verified that it's,
Codification is putting it into the standard in the layout of your
that's,
code.
yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's just like, so we,
It's not
that's something
verified,
that we can issue out to the citizens of the town.
but it's not sent to Columbia to be, there's no verification that happens on any of that
So
kind
the
of stuff.
state doesn't have any process of codification, period.
None.
I think if we're gonna put the money we're putting into our zoning and our ordinance changes, this is a nice add-on.
We don't
I mean,
have
we're revamping everything. Let's make it as easy as possible for our citizens to access it.
And y'all can also think about this and table this and come back. There's no rush to go ahead and move forward with this, because think about it, you're gonna have to come back to Media Code later on, once you do a full codification with the zoning ordinance and the municipal code all together.
That's gonna be covered by our package, right? If we purchase this package.
Yeah, so the way they've got it set up is 1564 takes your existing ordinances and codifies them, or puts them online for right now. They're not going to go through and do a full search. Otherwise, you'd pay two large fees. And so what they're doing is it just goes online and just gets into the system. And the renewal cost on there covers the cost of site hosting on there, and then if you have additional ordinances that are passed in that time, that they will codify and put it in there.
So they wouldn't, when we pass our new ordinances that we're working on, they wouldn't then redo that part? That would be an additional fee?
That's the additional 1,300 supplementation.
Well, editing versus redoing all of them.
So that
I understand they would
$9,000,
add changes.
that $9,000 process, that $9,000 cost on there, takes 18 months. And for that 18 months, their attorneys are gonna go through every law in the state of South Carolina. They're gonna go through everything for our stuff, as well as federal stuff. And
They're going to what?
they're going to take all of our ordinances and compare it and,
Run it through the state and federal and make sure that it's
Doesn't conflict with each other.
correct.
no conflicting, meaning that they will become codified. There you go.
But that's not what codification is.
So the only difference in this is that opposed to someone comes and looks at them on our website, they can now go and look at it on another website.
And it's a lot more user-friendly that way, yes.
So if we
But
do,
we would have a link
So
to
we're
it.
paying to have it put on another website, other than people just coming to the town of Packard and seeing those ordinances on our website.
I'm fine waiting until we're done with our
Okay,
updated
okay.
ordinances.
We got a motion and a second.
do we have a second?
No,
We do have a second. Ms. Swafford.
Ms. Walker?
I
seconded.
second it.
Yeah, she seconded.
I'm not fully understanding,
Do we-
I'll withdraw my motion.
He's withdrawing his motion.
I'll withdraw my motion. Let's move on.
Okay. Do we want to table it? Is what we want to do?
Or we can let it die, yeah.
Yeah, let it die. Okay. All right, moving on. D, consider the approval employee Christmas bonus.
I'd like to
Yes.
make a motion that we go back to historically, what we've done historically in past years, with our 3% across the board, and not do what we did last year. So I'd make a motion to approve, 3%, Christmas bonuses.
Motion made and seconded to do 3%.
I'm confused. Are we not doing what we did last? What are we doing different? I don't understand.
Well, I can't fully discuss that because it was done in executive session, but we had a council person
So
propose.
I don't understand what,
It-
your comment was that we're not gonna do what we did, but you're making a motion to do
No, no,
this?
no.
So,
Previous to last year, I'm making a motion to do a 3% Christmas bonus.
okay, so we're just gonna motion to do 3% Christmas bonus this year for all employees?
Correct.
I second that motion.
Great.
He's already been seconded.
Okay.
He can second. All right. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Moving on. E.
Next item on there is the consider awarding contracts for public works, building renovations, repair, and this goes along with the consider purchases for public works, upgrades, and equipment. I've put together all the numbers that are on there. In addition, I wanted to let you know a couple things had come out this afternoon. Davis Services came in with a price of $9,514, which is on your table.
You wanna update the screen? if you
Thank
don't
you,
mind?
sir. So since you're not gonna be able to use the $48,000 for the sewer project, out there, taking that money as well as some, leftover funds from the, public works creation and as well as some improvements to the town hall, you've got approximately, 58. $72,000 to spend on any of this work that's out here. And I've given you the options on here for Spartan Electric. You've already approved them. Now, you approved them for $8,500. The $2,000 on top of that was the removal of the tree and, I'm sorry, not the removal of the tree, the changing out of the meter to a 200 amp service that's on there. There's some holes that are in the roof, and working with different contractors and different roofers that are out there, they said that the only option right there would be to do a re-roof because the material is so old. They're also not sure what the material is, and so they're showing on here to just do a re-roof over the top of it. Anderson Metal Roofing has a price of $35,820. Their quote is included in the packet on here. WNC Roofing had a price of $95,350. Their quote is included in there. HVAC, WB Gamarin and Company Incorporated had a price of $11,941. They've since then come back with a new price of $9,300. When I reached back out to them this afternoon, I wanted to make sure that their quote was still good for this meeting tonight. And they said, yes, that previous quote was still good, but they'd also been looking at some other options or some cheaper units. The Daikin is a top-of-the-line unit, and so they wanted to offer another option that's out there. And so $9,300 is another option to be able to look at. Davis Services Incorporated has a Mitsubishi unit. It's a much better quality that's on there. However, it was not specified in terms of what particular type of unit to use. Plumbing. This was interesting. The CB Smith Plumbing came out there and investigated the line. And they went 5 feet straight down, never turned, and hit a clog. So not exactly sure where the septic tank is, but based off of this, I've never seen a septic tank that went down 5 feet and then turned out of the building, but I could be mistaken on that sort of thing. You had a couple options on there. One is to put in a new septic tank on the side of the building or pipe it all the way down to the new sewer line, which wasn't available at the time at the creek. You'd have to go across Packlet Milliken property and get an easement there. It's approximately 500 linear feet to get there, plus about $6,000 is what Spartanburg Water has quoted for a tap fee to get onto their system. After talking to George Pruitt and then confirming some stuff with our building inspector, if your property had a septic tank at some point, you can do a repair/replacement as long as you don't have access to another sewer system on site, or you don't have access to a municipal sewer system, which the town doesn't on site. And so there, you could do a replacement of this sewer system that's on there, and it does not have to be verified by DHEC at that point as well. So one option, the first option, CB Smith Plumbing, the $66,858, they don't do septic systems, and so they price to go all the way out to the creek. George Smith Plumbing quoted to do the work inside the building and do the septic tank outside. I wanted to reach out to a local group, Mott's. They had $48.75 to do the septic tank. I had a quote on here. I took CB Smith's Plumbing and I took off the cost for the excavation work down to the creek and that line down there. And their price, I believe, came up to, I believe it's $51,833. Still lower, or still higher than George Pruitt Plumbing. I reached out to George Pruitt Plumbing and I asked them if they would be willing to work with Mott's, because they were quoting $8,500 to do a septic tank. He said he couldn't touch that and he would be happy to work with a local company. And so updated price on there is $29,875, and that's to go with George Pruitt to do the interior work, and then Mott's to do the septic tank. And then the MC Sales, it's a company that y'all have always used. As far as I know, it's been here before my time here. I believe they've got an agreement with the town to do all of the IT work. That's what they did, the work outside. And so their price on here was $25.99.95 to do security cameras on the building itself. I included additional items on here in terms of a chipper truck, a grapple truck, a chipper, a leaf vacuum, and a walk-behind trimmer. I have some recommendations in there. However, I'm just going to cut to the chase in that I believe the work that needs to be done at the Public Works building kind of is more paramount than another piece of equipment that's out there. I think we can look at a different time, maybe a different fiscal year, trying to be able to buy a new chipper truck, which we desperately need. So what I'm recommending to council at this time is to move forward with the Anderson Metal Roofing, which is the cheaper option on here. WB Gamarin and Company at the $9,300 price on here. Mott's Septic and working with George Pruitt for $29,875, and then the MC Sales of $25.99.95, which comes to a total price of $88,094.95. And would result in a short, you'd still have to come up with $16,094.95. from your fund balance to be able to cover that.
Do you have any suggestion on how we can come up with the 16,000?
I mean, you were here when the auditor came in and gave a presentation to y'all. The town of Packlet has been very frugal over the years and has a significant fund balance to be able to work from. What you don't have is a significant annual budget.
So your recommendation is to fix the plumbing?
My recommendation is to go forward with the roof, HVAC, plumbing, and security cameras, and to cover the additional cost within your fund balance. And what we'll do is, at town, we'll try to do what we can to save as much as we can between now and the end of the year and try to cover that so we're not having to take out from fund balance.
Okay,
I make a motion, we approve funds for roof, HVAC, plumbing, and security cameras at the Public Works Building.
I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this without identifying each contractor and.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to
and
go
lump
through-
sums, you know, individually. That's my concern is like, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I
That's
get
not the way
it. I think you
works.
start off with the roofing and
Right.
pick a group on there if you want to move forward with that.
You recommend, I mean,
My recommendation is the
lowest.
Anderson Metal Roofing at $35,820.
all right.
I'll make a
We're
motion to
gonna go
approve.
One at a time is what you're doing?
you want to vote on each one individually?
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve Anderson Metal Roofing for the
Second.
roof quote of $35,820.
Motion made and seconded for Anderson Metal Roofing, 35,820. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed?
Next item on here is the HVAC. This is WB Gamiron and Company Incorporated. They had given two prices, the $11,941, which is with the Daikin unit, and the $9,300, I believe, with the Hunter.
So you,
I don't think y'all got.
I don't actually have like quotes in front of me to like look at the verbiage. So I'm not willing to look at the HVAC system right now. I think we should bypass that, maybe look at that at a different time.
Okay, the only concern with the HVAC is making sure that the plumbing, once it is installed,
That's correct.
doesn't break.
There's what, a $1,600 difference between the better unit and the cheaper unit? Is that right, Pat?
Is that
what
that
was he recommending on the original, 11,000?
I'm recommending the lowest price. I mean, need to save money, at least in my opinion.
Okay,
The 95-40 or 95-14?
93,
The 9,300.
9,300.
Okay, that's the WBG.
I'll make a motion, we approve HVAC with WB Grumman, for the 9,300 even.
Y'all have got
I don't have that in front of
The
me.
WGB one?
Um,
WBG, yeah.
Y'all should have gotten it
Oh, yeah,
beside your
9,300.
packet up there.
9,300.
Yeah, $9,300.
Okay, have a motion to go with HVAC, WB Grumman at $9,300.
What about this disclosure about all the electrical wiring,
Yeah.
main panel, to the unit disconnect will be the responsibility of the customer? How much is that gonna change?
So
The electric.
I mean, we've
There-
been there before.
the electric is going to be rebuilding the entire system. That is what's happening on there. So the electric, right now, you've got you've got the old screw-in
Knob and tube.
fuses on there, and so all that's coming out. Plus, it's a 100 amp service. The whole thing's being removed, and they're putting in a brand new
They haven't
200 amp
started
panel.
work on that
It's
yet.
already been taken care of under a
Under the electrician that you've already hired, that you've already approved their contract, they're already going to be installing that.
So what is the electrician's contract is 10,005?
The electrician, so
We approved 8,500,
you
correct?
approved 8,500.
Right, so for 8,500, this is gonna encompass all the HVAC and we won't have to have this discussion again, correct?
Yes.
Okay. On record, we're good.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Motion made and second.
Are you you're going with the 9,300?
$9,300 WB Rubin.
The last item on there is
Let me ask you one question. I mean, we didn't actually vote on that yet, did we? No, we didn't vote, so we're moving on, but anyway, one more question. We're heating and air conditioning the building for what purpose?
the heating and air conditioning is only going to be done, you've been in the building before, I believe.
I have, yes.
So it's that front room and the bathroom, and
Right.
that's it. And the only reason we're doing that is so that when the guys are working there, that they are more comfortable working in there. And it's also to make sure the pipes don't get,
Yeah, I mean, it's just my perspective that the Public Works Department wouldn't be comfortable working there. They would be comfortable working within the municipality. So I just want to make sure that we're not doing this so that they have like a
Lamb.
place to go chill, you know? if
no,
you wanna
no,
say
no,
it that,
not
yeah.
at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not, you know,
No, and no,
if we
one,
need to do this so they have a bathroom facility in the morning and the evening when they clock out, that's fine.
absolutely. And that
But
was,
I think that's something that we need to identify is that this is not somewhere that this, you know,
absolutely. No, this is not a place that they're going to be sitting there, and plus you'll have.
you'll be monitoring that, right? Or is
Absolutely. I
that,
mean,
is
you'll have
that part of the camera system you're
you have
looking
the
for
security
so that you don't have to be
systems
there?
Absolutely. No, it's,
Yeah.
and that also helps with, in the septic tank, this is not gonna be hangout spot. And part of the thing is I wanted to give them a couple options down the road. One is to put a refrigerator in there so they can have drinks for lunch and snacks, that sort of thing. The other thing would be is to, no other types of drinks. And the other thing is, at least I think this is a value, is to put a washer and dryer in there, because a lot of these guys are dealing with some really nasty stuff, in a place that they can wash their clothes, so they're not washing it at their home.
We could support local and use the laundromat.
Yes, that's a different
I
township.
think the HVAC is, we gotta have it to reduce.
There's a motion on the
mold
floor and
and
there's been seconded.
Frozen pipes. Can we vote
All
on
right,
this?
okay, we have a motion second. Any serious questions now? All right, all in favor? All opposed? All right, plumbing.
I'm like,
Motion to approve Pruitt and
Is he
Motts
just delayed? Is that what's going on?
at $29,875.
29,875.
I'm recommending that y'all move forward with the Pruitt, the group is George Pruitt Plumbing to do the interior, and then working with Mott's to do the septic tank out there.
Okay.
That was my motion.
Any questions on that? Have a motion. Need a second.
I second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on that, on the plumbing? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Security cameras, $25,999.95.
I'll make a motion to go with it.
Motion made to accept the security cameras.
I second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on that? All in favor? All opposed?
Can I just suggest next time when we have this many bids, can you just separate it out? Cause it's flipping back and forth, trying to find and match them up and put them together so I can, it's hard to flip and see, and just separate it.
so let me ask you a question. I think this is something you should probably put in the bid with the security cameras, now that we've already made the motion to approve. Are we gonna have to have Wi-Fi down there now? So that wasn't really a complete cost of the system, right? So that was kind of elusive. We're going to have to pay for Wi-Fi down there and a router and all that other service, correct?
Yes, we'll end up having to have that down there.
Yeah, so that wasn't part of this, and I don't think anybody realized that we'll have a monthly fee now. This is a one-time install, but we'll have a monthly fee now to have security cameras down there. So this cost doesn't really reflect the yearly cost that it's actually going to be. or the cost towards the budget that it's actually gonna be, correct? So
That's
what is the typical new service per month cost on a new location with the town?
50 or $100 a month. It's around 50, maybe 50, no more than $100 a month.
No more than $100 a month. So potentially $1,200 a year, we're gonna pay to have cameras down there. After we pay the $3,000 to install them, it's another $1,200 a month to have cameras down there to watch the trash truck leave and come back.
Well, the other thing is it's not just for that, it's for security. The issue is people coming down there, messing with stuff. If you've talked to Ms. Burrell, you know that we've already had some vandalism down there already. There's been some vandalism, that the Hunters for the Hungry had to deal with as well.
That's a tenant to the property,
tenant
correct?
of the property.
So have they opted to do cameras or anything of that sort?
Not that I know of.
So okay.
We've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment down there. I don't think it's crazy to have
My point is we just voted on something without the complete cost towards the budget, because it was not fully thought out and explained to the council. I don't appreciate that, that's why I said no. Because I know that there was more cost associated with it, was not identified by our administrator. I would ask that we do that next time.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving along. Consider the awarding the contract, well, it just did, I'm sorry. Consider the purchase of the public works upgrades, we nixing those,
We skipped that,
okay?
unless y'all want to.
Consider adopting the, 2025 town council meeting schedule. Anybody have any problem with that?
I'd like for, you to look at January the 2nd, possibly changing it to the following Tuesday or the following Thursday, which would be the 9th.
Looking to change it to the 9th, so what you're,
That would be the following Thursday.
oh, I'm sorry, the 12th? Oh, I'm not even looking at the right stuff here.
He's the 7th or the 9th.
The 9th.
The 9th, yes.
What's everybody's,
I'm amenable to that. That's fine.
ninth, or, you know what you're saying?
January 9th would be your next town council meeting instead of January 2nd.
Yeah.
7-9.
Okay, what else? Anybody have any other? Okay, we need to vote on it.
I make a motion, we approve the council's schedule for 2025 with one amendment, January 2nd, changed to January 9th.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on it? Any comments? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. All right. Do we need to, these appointments, do we need to handle these tonight, or can we, consider, some people and bring them back later, or what?
I think they don't expire until,
We still have to do the schedule. We gotta do the
There's
schedule.
two that expire at the end of this month. So the only thing would be, now, you could take your time in replacing these because of the fact that the BZA rarely meets,
We're
and I don't have a
skipping-
meeting for them for
We're
January
skipping
anyway.
Item H.
So, sir?
We've skipped item H.
Right. You go back to H?
Yeah, we need to go back.
Okay, I'm sorry. Consider adopting the 2025 Planning Commission Board and Field zoning, is what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the
I don't have a copy of those.
Planning Commission and BZA
The meeting?
schedule for 25?
So, my issue is that these, a lot of the planning commissions and the zoning and stuff is like the Monday previous to the council meetings. I would like that to be, more of a distance between the two. So either directly after the council meeting or a couple weeks prior to a council meeting, so that there's time for the administrator to get us the information that these other committees have, the other, boards have voted or approved or not approved. So that we're not surprised from Monday to Thursday and have to make decisions on things. I think this schedule should be reworked and probably rewritten so that there's a period of time in between these meetings and council meetings.
You're recommending the second Monday?
You could make it the Monday following the council meeting.
That works.
Is that okay, Jason?
The only thing is I'll have to go back through in terms of the application deadline and stuff on there, but, you can, I think yes, you can go ahead and just say the Monday
Let's
after
get it done.
and I'll send you the update between now and the next meeting.
Okay.
So the second Monday, is that what we,
I don't think you necessarily want to do second Monday, because you may have a situation in which a council meeting may fall on a,
That Thursday or the second Monday in a particular week sometimes.
Yeah, the second Monday could be 2 weeks out from a meeting, so we should say the Monday after.
I think it's appropriate to look at the council meeting dates and just
Monday after
go through the calendar and go the Monday after that, set the dates. It doesn't have to be a second Monday, first Monday, none of that, it's just set the dates.
The Monday after the
Just-
meeting.
Just set the dates and that's okay.
if
That-
you don't mind, what if we just go ahead and say that we're gonna, the next, planning commission meeting is still gonna be January 6th, because I think they had planned for that. And then after that, you'll have a council meeting, I believe, on January 5th,
Now,
9th, I'm
Ninth.
sorry, 9th.
so
And
the
at the
13th
9th,
The 13th would be the next meeting date for the planning commission, right?
Well, let's keep the January one. It's already on their calendar.
Do we need to keep that? I mean, it's for next year. We're voting now to do next year's.
I mean, if we have no regard for the planning commission.
no, I just have to let, ACOG know that too.
What they've already, what he's saying, Jason, is the planning commission's already set a meeting date.
We can do whatever we want, but I want to be
They
considerate
didn't
of
set
their
it,
schedule.
but what they did was they said that, that was the plan, because it normally is
Right.
that particular
All right.
date.
Okay.
So the plan was to be after the council meeting. That's why it was the 6th. We moved the council meeting to the 9th, so let's move the
That'd be
planning
fine.
meeting to the 13th.
That's
good?
fine.
You gonna bring that back to us?
I'll bring it back to you at the next meeting, or the next council meeting, but it ends up being that the, January meeting at least, you'll need to go ahead and set that, and then it'll be the 13th.
okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do we need a vote on that?
I would just wait until you got everything, but as long as you're good with,
Let's move on.
How about these other two? Do we need to take them up to 9, or?
I still have to talk, I know one of my appointees is expiring. I'm still talking to, I haven't talked to him, and I have other people to talk to, so I can't make a recommendation to fill that vacancy tonight.
Okay,
Rhonda? Yeah.
all right. What,
if you'd like, we may need to table the schedule of the, planning commission and board of zoning appeals to the next meeting. And then also, if you want to table this discussion or
We
pick
don't have
until.
to table it, I just won't have a name for you,
Okay,
for my vacancy.
then,
postpone it till?
I mean, there's not a lot to discuss, I guess. Is my appointee the only one? There's another one expiring,
Yeah.
correct?
There were-
Yeah, we could, I don't know who appointed
There's a
her,
couple.
but we can move forward with that if
so
they
you
want to.
would, their term expires at the end of this year. If you don't reappoint them, then you'll have a vacancy that's on there.
But we don't have any meetings
But you don't have any
scheduled
meetings for BZA
January.
planned
Okay,
in
I'm just
January.
gonna need one more, I'm gonna need one more month, one more council meeting. And I promise I will have it solidified next month for you.
I think it's appropriate to wait till January anyway, because if it was a new council member coming in, then they would appoint in January. So any kind of appointment should just be in January. you know, I'm okay if we're going to, if we already decided that we're going to, you know, just reappoint somebody, that's fine. But January is just fine. You know, I don't have a problem in the world with that. It seems appropriate because during transition of council members or, you know, election periods, and it's January regardless, so.
What I
that
had,
makes sense.
what I had done with all of the expiration dates of all of the, both planning and BZA is I tried to do my best at coordinating them with your terms so that you would be able to appoint them in your term. And so it's set up like that, but January is perfectly fine.
We still have one more item.
How about the other one? You wanna hold off on it too?
Patrick, do you have a recommended date for the retreat?
I don't have anything right now. I'm still waiting to hear back from Naomi. I would imagine y'all would like to do Saturdays like we've done, I think, last year. And we'll most likely go to the same location as before, unless y'all would like any of that to change. But if y'all could let me know over the next couple weeks what your schedules are like for Saturdays in January and February. Which dates are open.
Okay.
All right, that concludes it. Any comments there?
No comments.
No
About you,
comments.
Have you heard anything from Representative Moss's office about the memorial for Mr. Lambert?
I have not. I did reach out to him and let him know that it had been passed. I will follow back up with him tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Jason?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and, the meeting and, all the work we've done. I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, second, all in favor? So moved.